This will now be the third installment to the video series I have made reflecting on my savings goals for an entire year. And in today's video, it's going to be the progress I made against those goals that I set out to achieve for 2022. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese, and today, before I get into the specifics, because I am going to be giving specific numbers that I have achieved throughout 2022, I just want to mention that everyone's situation is different. Everyone's ability to save is different depending on many different factors. The numbers you're going to be seeing on the screen today will be based on my own living situation, my current lifestyle, and my income sources, which allow me to achieve the numbers that I'm going to be talking about. I just want to put it out there before I actually get into it. Just understand that. Here we go. As a quick recap of what my savings goal for 2022 looked like, I set out to achieve a savings of $60,000 combined between three particular accounts, being my big savings account, which was set aside for the purchase of a property, and I was able to purchase a property with it in 2022. Number two will be my emergency fund, where I want to keep track of how much I'm building that account each year in, year out, as it only increases by a small amount each pay, but it is consistent savings, and I would like to include it in the total amount, being that $60,000. And finally, for my investments, which are to be split between things like shares and stocks and cryptocurrency. And that is kind of a combined total that I just keep track of external to my bank accounts, because the money that I'm spending from those accounts feed into them. And I know it's not technically saving, but however, I'm building a portfolio for a long period of time. And that's why it's included in that total $60,000, which I'll be discussing now to see how I tracked against that 2022 goal. All of the data used to keep track of these various accounts and the money going in and out of them throughout 2022 came from my very own personal finance tracking spreadsheet, which I have made a video on in detail discussing how to use it. And I've actually made the template available for free to anyone who is interested in having one for themselves, or maybe just having a look at it to gain some insight into what they might not be using in their very own and could incorporate something from mine. So if you were interested in learning more about that, I have linked the video and the spreadsheet down in the description below. Feel free to use those resources as you wish. Okay, and now officially with formalities out of the way, let's begin with my big savings. My benchmark for this account at the very bare minimum was set to $41,000, or roughly $788 per week. However, in the video that I made setting this goal, I actually did state that I wanted to get this number closer to $45,000 as a bit of a stretch goal. Now, if you did watch my previous video, which this is a continuation of that video essentially, I definitely went into a bit of detail about the property that I had purchased and how that was going to affect my ability to keep that savings goal in check. So overall, I reduced the amount that I was planning to save throughout 2022 for this specific account, as I knew that I would need to spend from it in order to conduct any maintenance or repairs required to make sure that the house was ready to go for living in essentially. So here is the juicy number now. With that context out of the way, I was able to set aside in my big savings account $39,500 across 2022. So I wasn't actually able to reach my benchmark goal of $41,000. I was about $1,500 off, which, if you ask me, based on the outcome of what happened, that is pretty damn good considering I spent a lot of money, somewhere in the realm of $20,000 with my partner, to repair this house and get it back to the living standard that I wanted it to be at. So I'm pretty happy with that outcome overall. I guess as a wrap up for this part of the video, the outcome was expected based on what I knew I was getting myself into. It's just really kind of cool now recording it here in this video and actually saying that number out loud and seeing that it was still very close, meaning my projections were pretty much spot on. Let's move on to my emergency fund now. For my emergency fund, I simply followed the same rule that I've been following pretty much since I opened the account. I've put $50 in per pay cycle, so $25 per week goes into that account, and that just builds over time. At the start of the year, it was sitting at $5,750, where it is now currently sitting at $7,050. And if you do the math, at a rate of $50 per fortnight, I should have saved a further $1,300, where if you subtract 5,750 from 7,050, you'll see that I am basically bang on $1,300 as expected. I'm quite comfortable with the amount that I'm depositing into that account every pay cycle. It's really not a lot of money compared to the overall money that I'm bringing in from my 9 to 5 and my other various income sources, but I don't see myself increasing that number anytime soon, as I don't really have the need to do that. I think it's worth mentioning as well that some people have said to me in the past, why would you include this? It's a relatively small amount compared to some of the other goals that you set out to achieve. The reason why I leave it in these types of videos is that it really goes to show how being consistent can allow an account to build up to a sizable amount over time. I started with $2,000 in this bank account, and by the end of 2023, I should be pretty much at the $8,500 mark. That has basically been from just transferring $50 per pay cycle year in, year out to get there. It's not overly complicated. It doesn't really affect my cash flow whatsoever. And now it's getting to a point where I'm pretty comfortable if an emergency is going to come up and I need to withdraw from that account to pay for something. I'm not really stressing about where I'm going to get the money from. It should be able to cover most unexpected expenses, depending on what it is, of course. But I think the message there is that it really will build up over time. Don't underestimate the power of consistency. Okay, finally, let's move on to investments. Now, I know that this doesn't really count towards saving. However, the money being used to purchase shares in crypto needs to be saved in the short term to be able to make those transactions happen. So I am counting it like I do every year, because I am setting money aside every time I'm paid to go towards those particular expenses. My goal across 2022 was to put a minimum of $12,000 between the share market and cryptocurrency combined, where during 2022, I was able to invest $5,000 into ETFs that I personally like to invest my money into. Here in Australia, they're on the ASX. I'm not going to specify what they are because I'm not a financial advisor, and ASIC would be down my throat if I did mention what they were. However, I was able to achieve that goal, and then cryptocurrency kind of went a different way. I only ended up investing about $2,000 into the crypto market, which made me fall short about $5,000 total of that $12,000 combined, for various reasons. If you've seen how the market has reacted to a certain piece of information that has come out over the past number of months, I've talked about a few of them on the channel. Crypto's had a pretty rough year in 2022. It's something that made me just take a step back and realize it's probably a little bit risky at the moment to be putting my money into these assets. I'm going to hold off and actually reduce that amount that I'm going to put into them. To be completely honest, it's pretty interesting being at the complete opposite end of the crypto hype train, considering I made somewhere in the realm of $500,000 off of one of my crypto investments earlier in 2020 and 2021, where overall I was able to put a total of $7,000 against that $12,000 goal. Wasn't able to meet it exactly, but I'm not that concerned, as the money that I'm risking with these investments is intended to be risked. I'm going to hold it for the foreseeable future. We're talking decades at a time, and I'm going to see how it tracks over time. So the money has been put in a place that I'm very comfortable putting it there. I did not over leverage myself. I didn't put money that I wasn't willing to lose in. So I'm pretty happy with the outcome of that, even though I wasn't able to achieve the goal that I set out to achieve. So in conclusion, because I purchased a property throughout the year and had some expenses that I needed to cover to make sure that the house was at a state that I wanted it to be at, I was not able to actually achieve the goal, the overall goal of $60,000 that I set out to achieve throughout 2022. So after the property had been settled and I had paid for everything that I needed to get the work done, I was left across all of my bank accounts with a total of about $71,000, which was a reduction from my total from 2021, which is pretty scary to think that I kind of went down in money to make this purchase, where I was able to kind of bite back. And at the end of 2022, I had about $109,000 across all of my various bank accounts, meaning against all of my various savings accounts across 2022, I was able to save approximately $45,000 and then invest a further $7,000 on top of that. So the number that really matters is when I compare it to the year prior, I saved about $1,100 less than I did in 2021. And I invested overall about $8,000 less as well. And this was solely due to that house purchase, which kind of carries me over now into 2023, which is what I'm expecting to be the greatest year of my life ever for saving money. 2023 is going to be huge. I have managed to significantly increase my income, and like I've mentioned throughout the video, the dust is settled and I'm not expecting to see any unexpected expenses coming online that's going to cost me a lot of money across this year. Overall, each year I set myself a savings goal to basically keep me on track with what I'm trying to achieve with my finances and to stop me from spending freely from the accounts that have money in them. It's a good feeling and something that I would like to continue on with well into the future. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this goal and what I'm talking about today is set based on my current living situation, my living expenses, and my income. And this is supposed to be a reflection of how I did against the video I made setting those goals. The video that will tie directly into this one will be my savings goal for 2023, as this is a reflection of how I did against my savings goal for 2022. I'll link it down in the description below, along with some other handy resources if you were interested in watching them after this one. And that's pretty much it for my savings recap of 2022. I'm pretty happy with the progress I made, and there isn't a lot more to say about it. If you did enjoy this video, if you thought it was insightful, or you like just being nosy and seeing some interesting numbers on screen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button down below. For yourself, I highly encourage you to set your own goals and definitely work towards them. The outcome will be a positive one, even if you're unable to fully achieve them. Just keep that in mind as well. With that being said, have a good day, have a good week, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.